One of the many industries struggling with the global economy is tourism. Geoff Dixon is chairman of Tourism Australia, and as the former chief executive of Qantas, known for his marketing flair, he's steering the organisation firmly towards China for future growth. We caught up earlier, and despite an initial reluctance, he did touch on his old flagship airline and the rumours that he is one of those behind a private bid for Qantas. Geoff Dixon, welcome to the programme.
Thank you very much.
Now, there's been a big turnaround, I suppose not surprisingly, in inbound tourism. Numbers up year on year, but down in the last 6 months. I guess you can pick your reason. Floods, economic crisis, the $8. What's been the big driver?
Well, the big driver overall has been those economic problems, the floods, what have you. But the overall figure is very good. I mean, at the end of the day, we're up around about 4%. And given what's going on in the world, that's pretty good.
Do you worry if we do have a real recession in Europe and the United States? Do you worry that this could impact seriously on Australian inbound tourism?
We worry about it, but we really are working very hard, particularly Tourism Australia, to change the direction. We are now focusing most of our resources, or much of our resources, on Asia. China, Singapore, Malaysia, India, Indonesia, countries like that.
And these are all places where at the moment, even in the last 6 months, inbound tourism is actually on the rise, isn't it?
Very much on the rise, and not just only in the 6 months, in the last 2 years. And certainly many of the tourism bodies, including the state ones, are now moving more fully to trying to say, this is the Asian generation, let's get to that, and we're doing that.
You've had a bit of a serve recently from tourism consultant Tony Charters about the quality of what's on offer here in Australia. He says Australians travelling at home, for a start, are a dying breed, and that the industry is still largely operating on a model that worked in the 80s and 90s, a dreary Australia.
Well, I'm not sure that's right. I mean, it's a view, and there's many views, as you know. I mean, there's as many views on tourism as on how you run the ABC, really. So
that's a few.
Yeah, that's right. So we've got to live with that. But certainly, I don't think there's. I don't think the view is necessarily wrong, but I think it's just one view. I think we need to improve our product in areas. I think we must make sure that our product is Asian-focused, as well as maintaining our relationships and the importance of our traditional markets. And I think people are doing that, and that's the way Tourism Australia and the tourism bodies are pushing it.
Another couple of views. Minister Assisting on Tourism, Nick Sherry, and James Packer. They both talk about tourism infrastructure looking tired and worn and in need of a makeover.
Yes, there's certainly, that's a valid point, and I think there's a lot of work being done on that. Tourism Australia mainly is a marketing body, but we are certainly working with other government entities to try and at least be sort of a rainmaker in making sure that people feel they can invest in Australia, being within Australia or outsiders coming in tourism infrastructure.
So can you see those apricot hotels in Queensland changing colour?
I can.
All right. Well, let's go to marketing. You mentioned marketing. At Qantas, you nailed it on the marketing front with I Still Call Australia Home. They still use it. Tourism Australia, on the other hand, was ridiculed, really, with Where the Bloody Hell Are You? Since then, you've got There's Nothing Like Australia. Now, is that working? I mean, it was a very clever idea to get Australians involved. I've had a look at the website. It's pretty cool. Is it actually working?
Yes, it is working. I mean, I think the figures show that. The most recent figures out today, a matter of fact, as I said, show great increases from Asia and some other countries.
Do you think they actually engage on that sort of online marketing?
Yes, they do, and our research shows they engage on the online marketing, and they also like, particularly in some countries, the advertising goes on television.
Just talking about the emphasis now on China and the government's mining tax, I was just thinking about, what a nice circuit would have been if some of that mining tax would have been put into the tourism side to encourage the Chinese. After all, that's where our iron ore is going.
Well, I can't comment where the government should put its money, but I can say...
Have you lobbied in that direction?
No, I haven't. We haven't lobbied for part of the mining tax. No, certainly not. But we have spoken to the government, and the government has given us, I think, quite good funds to work in China, and we are working very heavily in China. I mean, it's now the third biggest market, which is quite incredible, the third biggest market for Australia. It's overtaken the United States. It's up 26% on visitor arrivals this year alone, on top of 20% the year before. There'll be close to a million Chinese coming to Australia in about the next 8 to 9 years.
Let me go to Qantas. A huge restructuring recently announced by Alan Joyce, who made a big thing about it being very, very good for tourism in Australia. Is he right?
Well, first of all, let me say something first, is that I've been out of Qantas for about 3 years and I've never spoken about Qantas, and I really do not intend to talk about Qantas. I think when you move on, you do move on. I will say I think Alan and the board are doing a good job.
But he specifically mentioned tourism. Do you think creating an Asian hub of some sort is going to make a difference to tourism in Australia?
I think a successful Qantas makes a difference to tourism in Australia, and I think a lot of aviation access, and I mean access that's comes with demand, is very important for tourism in Australia.
So I mean, if there was a hub in China, for instance, that presumably would make a big difference to how you could leverage off.
Well, I don't think Qantas has said they're going to have a hub in China, but I do think that Jetstar, success of Jetstar, the growth of a lot of the other carriers that are coming into Australia is very important for tourism.
You said you're reluctant to talk about Qantas, but I've got to ask you about this private equity bid, because there's been just some discreet buying on the market. We know you guys have been outed last week in the media. Many of the same crew of the old APA syndicate, yourself, Mark Carnegie, David Coe. The share price is at a low. What are you waiting for?
Well, can I say, I'll repeat, that I don't discuss Qantas issues, but I will say we have an investment company, which includes Mark and a few other people, and I will say that investment company has not bought one share in Qantas.
So far? Yeah. Will you come back and talk to us about it if such a thing does happen?
I will come back and talk to you about anything you like.
Geoff Dixon, it's a delight to have you here. Thank you very much for joining the program.
Thank you very much, Dickie.